Would you like to do more for our beautiful planet? Are you interested in learning what role the cloud can play to accelerate your own sustainability transformation or those of your customers? Good morning, I'm Tobias, and I have the pleasure of leading AWS's EMEA Professional Services team for migrations and sustainability. Today and this morning, I'm going to walk you through what Amazon is doing and what AWS is doing in our own sustainability journey to fight the climate crisis. We're a very customer-obsessed organization, so I'm going to share with you what we're hearing from our customers. And then I'll get into the cloud and how we think about the cloud and how that ties into sustainability, especially on the climate side of the house. I'll give you some tips and tricks how to get started if you haven't started. If you already have started, I'll give you some ideas about how you can really accelerate this journey. I'll also share some case studies for you at the end. There's many. These are things that have been done, and there's more to come, but you'll have some insight into what does it actually look like in reality. Yeah. So Amazon is truly a leader in sustainability and fighting the climate crisis. We co-founded the Climate Pledge that you may be aware of. It's a $2 billion fund that over 400 organizations have joined now in collaboration. And the objective of the Climate Pledge is to bring the Paris Agreement forward by 10 years, so by 2040. At Amazon, we obviously deliver many packages, so we're constantly playing with how do we reduce or how do we even eliminate packaging. You may have already seen new electric vehicles on the road. If not, you will see them soon. We have, in partnership with Rivian, we're going through an entire electrification of the delivery vehicles. So 100,000 of those will be on the road in a few years, with the first ones getting rolled out as we speak. And Amazon, for multiple years now, is the largest corporate buyer of renewable energy in the world. So just a few highlights on Amazon. AWS, part of Amazon. We're doing quite a bit on fighting the climate crisis as well. We just announced a few months ago that we'll be water positive by 2030. That means we give back more water to the communities than we use. And if you're asking, why is he talking about water? Think of data centers, large data centers, bigger than these buildings. They have to get cooled, right? And water is one of the major components on cooling these data centers. Just like Amazon, we are on the path by 2025 to only use renewable energy to run our operations. We're about 89% last time I checked. And we have our own chips. We have our own silicon, and we call it Graviton 3. It's our latest version. And those processes would allow you to use compute power a lot more efficient. You're hearing a lot about artificial intelligence these days and how much energy is being used, right, to compute. So, we're trying to take that into our own hands. We're building data centers around the world. As you know, carbon is one of the biggest emitters of GHGs in the world. So we use low-carbon concrete as we build these data centers. And we have done a lot of research. We have satellites that look at climate data and satellite imaging that we share with our customers. So just a few highlights on what we're doing there. But let's talk about what we're hearing from our customers. Everything we do at Amazon is backwards from our customers. First of all, we're seeing customers voting, with their wallets. I don't see any migration coming across my desk anymore without being asked about what we're doing on the sustainability front. It used to be all about cost savings, used to be all about resilience, security, reliability. Here in EMEA, sustainability is becoming one of the top 3 themes that we're seeing. And you will see customers, voting with their wallet for your products as well. So customers are demanding it. Employees are demanding for companies to step up. There's a new term out of the US called climate quitters. Those are folks who just no longer want to work for companies who are not doing, what's right for our planet. And then here in Europe, more than in any other regions, we have many, many regulations. Pretty tough to keep track of them all. And I'm hoping for more, incentives. But these are all creating tailwinds for us, right? That's the message that I want to leave you with. There's all these tailwinds behind fighting this climate crisis. And then you have to ask yourself, am I going to use sustainability and climate? Am I using this potentially for a competitive advantage? Or am I going to take a back seat and just wait what happens and cause potentially very harmful reputational issues? Not every company has to follow regulations yet. If you don't, congratulations, but be ready. Eventually you will. So get ready for that. We don't see any sector, any industry that we're talking to that's not being impacted. So if you think you're immune because you're in a certain industry, maybe not listed here, think again. Building and construction, steel, cement, sustainable buildings is a hot topic. Financial services, right? ESG reporting. Investors are starting to look very, very differently at companies. It's no longer just about the hard dollar or euro. Manufacturing, transportation is going through an incomplete electrification as we speak. I'm from Munich, and we have the largest auto show in Europe as we speak, and the electrification of the industry is amazing and will continue. So please don't rest, no matter what industry you're in. Some industries are ahead, some a little bit lagging, but every industry is going to be impacted by this. Another key message that I'd like to leave you with is that not only is it the right thing to do, right, to invest in climate technologies and in fighting the climate crisis morally, ethically, but it does make business sense. Yeah? And it has to make business sense, right, for the needle to move. So that is one component, to take a closer look at. And there's predictions if you are, somewhere on the digital technologies and on the convergence with sustainability, those are the companies that are projected to be the winners of the future. This report is a couple of years old by one of our partners, but you can see they're predicting that companies at that intersection will be at least 2.5 times more profitable than others in the future. So let's talk a little bit about the cloud. You may think of us as an infrastructure company. I'd like to think of us as more as a data aggregation company. But there's really 3 pieces that impact sustainability, and I'd like to walk you through all 3 of them. And I won't bore you with very detailed techno-speak here. But the first aspect is what we call a migration, which is taking organizations, whether they're enterprise customers, SMBs, public sector, startups, and taking them out of their data centers into one of our data centers, which is really the foundation. Once you're in a data center, there's a lot of things you can do to optimize. Think of that as green IT. And then the fun starts. You can really accelerate through artificial intelligence, through machine learning. So think of data aggregation and then using machine learning to detect trends and patterns that allow you to predict likely business outcomes. So you could potentially predict when the next flood hits. You could predict all kinds of things depending on your specific situation. So on the migration, for most organizations, the IT footprint is probably a smaller part of their overall carbon footprint. But just the sheer act of getting into the cloud will reduce your IT footprint. Yeah? Our cloud is 4 times more energy efficient than any other, typical European data center, right? So you're saving on your carbon footprint and your energy there already. And because of our massive scale and scalability, we can also perform tasks and run, jobs and compute functions closer to 90% lower carbon footprint. So think of migration as just the first step, getting into the cloud, and that allows you then that's the foundation, yeah? And then you use that to really innovate. But you can also optimize once you're actually, in the cloud. So we have multiple pillars as part of our well-architected framework: security, reliability, and we have a sustainability pillar for the last couple of years now. And so this is where our system architects work with our customers and our partners to really optimize the architectural decisions and in some cases the code that takes up all this energy. So migration is the foundation. You optimize, but at the end of the day, the issue that we're facing in climate is a data issue. The data is core at addressing this. Did you know that today, September 7th, 2023, last time I checked, we are producing more data today as a human race than 20 years ago for an entire year. And that trend will continue. So we don't have a shortage of data. Data is growing dramatically. It's coming from a lot of different sources, used by a lot more people. So we don't have a data shortage. We have a data intelligence shortage, right? And the cloud can really help you make sense of all the information and help you predict going forward. So if you don't have the data, how can you measure? How do you know what your carbon footprint is? What does your scope 3 look like? Do you know? Very, very difficult to answer right now. But you have to measure in order to monitor and then manage. So data is key to address the climate crisis. Like I mentioned before, we have lots of data that we make available to our customers and to our partners. So my first tip and trick of the trade would be don't start from scratch. We have satellites in orbit to look at climate data, to look at weather patterns, take advantage of that, whether you're in agriculture or whatever industry that you're in. But don't start from scratch. Take advantage of what's already out there. But we need to innovate more, yeah, especially here in Europe. I spent a lot of time in the US. The US doesn't have a whole lot of regulations, but they're leading in innovation. And I want us to innovate more and take advantage of the incentives and the regulations to really fight this climate crisis. There are so many opportunities for us to do that, and I would encourage us to move a lot faster. But we will innovate ourselves out of this climate crisis together. So when we think about sustainability in the cloud, we really try to separate between pillars and use cases in decarbonization. And that's probably what you're hearing a lot of these days, right? Decarbonization. And what we as a planet, as an organization, as a culture have to do and to achieve. We pretty much have to cut global greenhouse gases by half by 2030. It's like compound interest. If we don't do that, we're in trouble. Then we have to cut it again by 40. Then we have to cut it again by 50, right? So decarbonization is a major focus area. But don't forget other environmental related use cases that may pertain to you. Think of biodiversity. Think of climate risk and adaptation. You will hear today also about circular economy. What about biodiversity? Yeah? What about water? So there are a lot of moving pieces here. And then what we'd like to do is we'd like to partner. We have thousands and 10,000 of partners that we work with to work on specific use cases and do joint product development, if necessary, to help build a proof of concept, for example, to try out, a use case and get some learnings from it. And again, that's where data analytics, machine learning, and AI come into play to be able to predict, when a solar panel may break, what low carbon concrete you need in order to build a mile of a road. You can do a lot of simulation. So if you're not very technical, don't get scared by machine learning and AI. Really think about it as patterns and trends that can help you predict things in the future. And there are many proven use cases out there. Another tip that I'd like to give you, when people ask me about sustainability and what should we do, how can I get involved? I always say we need facilitators, we need collaborators, we need people who can translate. What I'm finding is people speak and are at different levels. We have data scientists talking very technical. We have regulators talking regulations. The business is trying to figure out how does that make sense to me. And so, one of my advices to you would be, as you're working with your stakeholders, internally or externally, don't make any assumptions of where they are in their understanding of sustainability. Get on the same page with them. Whether you're on the right side of this chart or you're just beginning, there's nothing more interesting than getting like-minded people from different functions together. And if you can become a translator and facilitator amongst that group, you will have a fun job for decades to come. I'd like to also share with you another trick or tip that we use at AWS. We have a leadership principle called think big. So before you think about a use case or a specific problem to fix, I want you to take another step back and really think big. Sustainability is not a bolt-on. Sustainability should be built in anything that we do, across your organization. So I want you to really think big. When Amazon says we're thinking big, we're in the process of launching hundreds of satellites in low orbit to provide internet access to regions of the world who don't have that. Now that was the think big idea. You may not have the capital and scale to do that, but just to illustrate what think big looks like. And then I want you to get really tactical. I want you to focus on one specific use case or problem that you're trying to solve. Start small. It may be just on the transportation side of the house. It may be just one building or one floor that you're trying to get more energy efficient. It may be just working with the top 10 suppliers that you have to understand their emissions. Pick that use case. Try it out. Fail. Do it again. Again, it's not something that is very natural to us in Europe to fail. We don't grow up and are being taught to fail. We grow up and we're being educated to be very, very careful. And I want you to be more aggressive and assertive and fail and learn from it. And then you get it right. Now you have it right. Now you can scale it to all your buildings, to your entire fleet, to all your suppliers. So think big, start small, and then accelerate. I could be standing up here for hours giving you different use cases from Coca-Cola bottling, from Qantas Airlines, but instead of boring you with that, I want you to just Google Climate Next AWS, and you will get a short series, 10-minute blurbs where we go into different use cases to really show you what can be done in reality. And those are two of my favorite ones that I picked for you, but there's more for you to consume on your own time. There's one use case on here on the left side that is really about climate risk and adaptation and mitigation. In Zanzibar, which is a small island of the east coast of Tanzania, low-lying area, island, flooding, agriculture issues. And so my new favorite plant is the mangrove. The mangrove really protects protects the area, and is also the largest carbon sink that you can think of, 10 times more efficient than, for example, a tree. So really cool use cases, and there's also, of course, decarbonization use cases out there that you can check out, at your leisure. So let me leave you with a few things. By now, you should know that this is the critical decade, right? We got lots to do. We're almost a third into the decade. But there's, we don't need any more excuses. We have all these tailwinds. Customers want it. The business wants to figure out how to make money. There's regulations. Employees want it. Let's use those tailwinds to push forward. Yeah. Every industry is impacted, and it makes business sense to do that. Those companies will be the winners of the future. And you need data in order to solve that problem, right? And the cloud, is a really good foundation and enabler to let you do that. And then your homework is to think big, start small, pick a use case, work that through, and then really accelerate and take advantage of these technologies that are out there, data analytics, machine learning, AI, to help predict and simulate and get ahead of challenges before they even arise. Not sure how much time we'll have for questions. Happy to take some, maybe offline, but would like to thank you and take that opportunity to ask you to fight this climate crisis, and appreciate everything that you're doing to give this beautiful planet a fighting chance for survival. Thank you.